Let's talk about USA basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during.
The shockwaves hit the league like a cannonball, shattering any illusion of progress. Just as fans were celebrating Caitlin Clark's invitation to the senior training camp, a new graphic dropped, supposedly a welcome post from Team USA. But the faces starring back, not the ones anyone expected. The most visible, game-changing athlete in women's basketball was nowhere to be seen. An intentional snub that felt like a public benching, igniting a firestorm of outrage and leaving fans absolutely furious at the blatant disrespect. This wasn't a simple oversight. It was a loud, unmistakable message, and the silence from official channels.
USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics, by the way, of which the guy that runs the 2028 Olympics, he come out and said he thought it was a terrible idea leaving her off the team. Adam Silver said, hey, I think this was an opportunity that they could have had to have grown women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to...
This isn't the first time. The sting of the Olympic roster debacle still lingers, when Clark was shockingly left off the team despite massive public outcry. Many believed, perhaps naively, that USA basketball had learned its lesson from that monumental mistake. Yet here we are again, watching another baffling decision that pushes the growth of women's sports to the back burner. The pattern is undeniable. Treat Caitlin Clark as if her enormous popularity is a problem, not an unprecedented opportunity. It's a strategic failure that continues to cost the sport dearly, leaving fans and critics completely stunned.
Women's sports, something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to... I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They might have shattered potentially actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Even high-profile figures condemned the initial Olympic snub. The head of the 2028 Olympics, a man whose job is literally to maximize global engagement, publicly called it a terrible decision to exclude Clark. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver echoed the same concern, recognizing it as a major missed opportunity to exponentially grow the reach of women's basketball. These aren't casual opinions. They are powerful indictments from the highest levels of professional sports, exposing a stunning disconnect within USA basketball's decision-making process. The message from leadership was crystal clear, yet completely ignored.
It'd have been a huge rating. Instead, they continue to treat Caitlin Clark like she's a leper. What are we doing? What are we doing? The WNBA, Team USA... I don't understand. And when I did my video last night, I had not seen this. Shit, I got up this morning and I seen it now. And we'll get to the reaction. By the way, heads up, Christine Brennan's the one that really caught my eye on this. And, you know, just to put it out there.
Imagine the level of frustration NBC must have felt, or at least should have felt. With Clark on the Olympic roster, TV viewership could have shattered records, possibly reaching numbers comparable to the legendary Dream Team era, especially in today's hyper-connected media landscape. Instead, that golden opportunity was tossed aside. The chance for unprecedented ratings simply left on the table. This wasn't just a win waiting to happen for women's basketball. It was a guaranteed ratings bonanza for broadcasters, a massive cultural and financial surge deliberately rejected. The short-sightedness is almost unbelievable, costing millions in potential revenue, visibility, and momentum.
Had added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm going to keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, this women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Seriously, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray, right?
The latest spark fueling fan outrage came from a post by acclaimed sports journalist Christine Brennan. She sharply noted that if USA Basketball truly cared about growing the game and attracting new fans, they would have prominently featured Caitlin Clark in their promotional graphics. Her critique, simple, direct, and devastating, went viral, quickly surpassing 250,000 views and pushing USA Basketball onto the defensive. It was a clear and unmistakable sign that the public saw straight through the organization's weak attempts at engagement, exposing a glaring disconnect between what they claim to stand for and what they actually do.
Than Caitlin Clark, and I paid attention then long enough to throw up in a bucket. I mean, this is nuts. USA women's basketball is back. 18 athletes will attend December 12th through the 14th, Durham, North Carolina. By the way, you want to know one reason why the ratings were down for the last Olympics on women's basketball? People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember.
The graphic in question spoke volumes. Yes, it showcased other talented stars like Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray, but it blatantly excluded the one athlete who has undeniably become the face of the sport. Social media's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Who are these players again? This wasn't an insult to the other athletes. It was a recognition of reality. When you have a global phenomenon like Caitlin Clark, ignoring her isn't just strange, it's self-sabotage. Yet USA Basketball seems determined to prioritize internal politics over basic commercial sense, refusing to put their most recognizable and marketable star front and center. It's a baffling strategy, one that actively undermines the very goals they claim to pursue.
People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember. That was a huge story on this channel. A huge story. So, a lot of people noticed Christine's post. It got over 250,000 views. And it looks to me like that USA Basketball chose to leave the conversation with her share because, look,
the previous Olympic snub came with real, measurable consequences. Thousands of fans openly boycotted women's basketball broadcasts, and viewership for those events dropped sharply, a direct and undeniable result of Clark's exclusion. This wasn't just a wave of online complaints. It was a coordinated, quantifiable response from a passionate fan base that felt ignored. The message back then couldn't have been clearer. Yet USA Basketball seems to have dismissed that data entirely. And now, with this latest perceived slight, they're once again risking widespread alienation. Another drop in viewership feels almost inevitable. It's astonishing, as if they are determined to repeat past mistakes, no matter the cost.
To grow women's basketball at the 2024 Olympics, this is a continuing story. They learned nothing. They learned nothing. They are still fighting the CC motion with everything they have. Did I watch the last Olympics without CC? Nope. Will I watch this team with CC? Yes. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. You're not the only one. I never.
The public backlash was so explosive that USA Basketball quietly began deleting social media posts containing the controversial graphic. The main post is still up, but it's being buried under an avalanche of negative comments and relentless criticism. Their sudden retreat, while not an outright admission of wrongdoing, speaks volumes. It shows they knew a storm was coming and scrambled to contain it. But in today's world of instant screenshots, viral outrage, and 24/7 discourse, attempts to quietly clean up mistakes only make them louder. Instead of calming the situation, it amplified the perceived slight and plunged the organization into even deeper trouble. For decades, national governing bodies like USA Basketball have had two core responsibilities: win medals and grow the sport. Yet by repeatedly sidelining their most influential star, they have catastrophically failed at the second mission. Yes, the medals keep coming, but at the cost of expanding their audience and securing the sport's future. This ongoing refusal to embrace the game's most powerful growth engine isn't just a missed opportunity. It feels like a deliberate act of sabotage, choosing internal politics over public interest. And the long-term damage is becoming undeniable. This isn't a one-off mistake. It's part of a continuing pattern, a resistance movement within USA Basketball that seems determined to push back against the Caitlin Clark movement, no matter how much the public demands otherwise. The organization appears entrenched in old thinking, stubbornly refusing to accept that one player has revolutionized the sport's visibility. Treating a generational superstar as a threat instead of an asset isn't just misguided, it's devastating to the league's public image. The motivations behind this resistance remain murky, and the baffling decision-making doesn't stop at rising players. Sources have pointed to previous roster choices, including Diana Taurasi being placed on an Olympic team only to log multiple DNPs, as evidence of favoritism toward established veterans, even when their on-court impact has faded. Respecting legends is important, but prioritizing sentiment over performance and marketability sends a clear message. Internal loyalties outweigh the sport's future. It's an alarming trend, and fans are noticing. Criticism of USA Basketball has even moved into uncomfortable territory. Some fans openly speculate about double standards, whispering that Clark is too white or doesn't check the boxes. Whether such claims hold truth is debatable, but the perception alone is toxic. It implies that merit and popularity may be secondary to politics and identity, a belief that erodes trust and undermines the credibility of the entire selection process. Even unproven accusations can inflict lasting damage when an organization refuses to offer transparency. Regardless of politics, one fact is indisputable: Caitlin Clark is the most global women's basketball player alive. Her influence reaches far beyond traditional demographics, pulling in a massive audience that never previously engaged with the sport. Ignoring that kind of global draw, especially in an Olympic context, isn't just short-sighted, it's self-destructive. Her absence from rosters or promotional materials is a monumental marketing failure, and many believe this hostility isn't accidental. A growing number of fans think the WNBA, from the top down, resents that the league's visibility and economic surge stem almost entirely from Clark. If these perceptions are true, it paints a picture of jealousy, insecurity, and internal resistance. Quiet resentment toward the sport's biggest star would explain the baffling decisions that repeatedly undermine the league's potential. Internal friction of that magnitude is corrosive, a cancer slowly eating away at everything the league could become. The sentiment that spiteful decision-makers are prioritizing less marketable personalities over Clark's universal appeal is harsh, yes, but it's being voiced loudly and frequently. The pattern is difficult to ignore. Even the coaching staff isn't immune to scrutiny. Despite smiling in public, many fans believe the new coach is privately jealous of Clark's records, talent, and unprecedented financial impact. If resentment is influencing strategic decisions, it creates a toxic environment, one ripe for conflict, sabotage, and distrust. No program can thrive when the coach resents the player who drives its success. Meanwhile, the analytics paint a brutal picture. Following Clark's initial Olympic exclusion, Fever Games saw a staggering 5,152% decrease in viewership. That wasn't speculation. It was cold, measurable data. Her presence equals attention. Her absence equals collapse. Ignoring numbers this extreme is more than negligent. It's financially dangerous. The sport cannot survive if it keeps rejecting the athlete most responsible for its visibility. Leaving the most popular female athlete on Earth off a promotional poster isn't just a marketing mistake. It's catastrophic. It shows a breathtaking misunderstanding of basic branding. In an era defined by star power, hiding your biggest star feels like either incompetence or intentional suppression. And fans are asking the obvious question: what are we doing? The blueprint for unprecedented success is staring USA basketball in the face. Embrace Caitlin Clark. Put her at the forefront. Build around the momentum she has created. Instead, they're fumbling a wide-open slam dunk again and again, leaving fans stunned by decisions that actively work against the sport's best interest. The message to USA basketball could not be clearer. If they leave Caitlin Clark off future final rosters, the backlash will be seismic, far worse than anything we've seen before. It would prove that nothing has changed, that data means nothing, and that personal agendas outweigh the sport's future. And the consequences for women's basketball might be irreversible.